Episode 20, Burning Up. Greetings and welcome, dearest listeners. You found yourselves in my dark and sordid little corner of the world. My name is Jessi, and I'm here to share the tales of the dark and the strange, the twisted powers that affect everyday people. So sit back, put your feet up, and listen to today's saga. From username SapphireFire0302. Hi Jessi, been listening for a while. I know I'm one of your merchant characters or whatever. A human touched by mystical powers. Big fat checkmark right here. I think I'm also a monster. Maybe. Here, I'll lay it out for you. You decide. I was 6 the first time. Just turned 6. It was at my birthday party. I was a pretty normal kid from a pretty normal neighborhood. My parents had invited my school friends as well as my neighbors, and all told I think there was about 20 to 30 people there. As a small child, having a party with so many people was thrilling, and we had a pool, of course, so being born in July, we had a pool party. A bunch of 6 and 7-year-olds running around through sprinklers and jumping into the pool, narrowly missing the adults who were making food or just talking with each other. I remember distinctly that just inside the back door to the house was a pile of gifts that I was so impatiently waiting to open. My parents had hired a clown, though I'd asked them not to. Clowns kind of scared me as a kid. Not like what the bed scared, but still enough that having one at my party was just the worst thing to ever happen to me. I'd thrown a bit of a temper tantrum at it, but my dad had calmed me down, telling me the clown was really there for the other kids. Since they were getting me a gift, giving them food and entertainment was only natural. He'd always been rational like that, whereas Mom and I are the hotheads. Sorry, terrible pun. You'll understand. Anyways, the day went pretty smoothly at first. We all enjoyed the summer air in the pool, as well as the clown's antics. Most of the kids loved him. Me, I thought there was something odd about him. Most clowns I'd seen were fat. Not overweight, just broader with fluffy costumes that held their squirting flowers and other clown funnies. Not this one, though. He was tall and really thin and moved almost jerkily, like his joints were all separate from each other. He reminded me of a puppet. Kind of dismissed it back then, just figuring it was his particular clown act. Since he wasn't really there for me anyways, I just went about being the spoiled birthday princess. At least until one of the kids bumped into me and my cake fell into the pool. Total mistake, not even that big a deal, not really, but to my little entitled child brain, it was akin to attacking me personally, and I was gonna let him have it. I hadn't seen which kid it was, but by any and every god, I was gonna find them. I let out a horrid shriek, one that most parents know immediately as the spoiled kid cry. All the kids stopped to stare at me, holding my paper plate and screaming to the sky in the most dramatic way possible. It probably looked comedic to the adults watching. At first. It was the smell that finally made me stop screaming. Something smelled burnt. I'd always hated that smell, the smell of burning. If anything was burnt, I wouldn't eat it. Not because I was spoiled, though I very much was, but the smell just always made me nauseous. For as far back as my memory goes, the smell of burnt anything. Firewood, toast, marshmallows, anything. It made me nauseous. So when that scent hit my nostrils, I stopped and looked to find the source, and found everyone staring. Not at me, not like what I expected, but at one of the parents who'd been standing pretty close to the weird puppet clown. The easiest way to say this is that he was on fire. But it wasn't regular fire, not the red and orange or even blue that you'd expect. It was white. White and silent, like he never made a sound, even as he fell to his knees, clawing out, trying to get some help. We were all just frozen in shock and horror. Even the clown let his juggling pins fall as he stepped back. The man, whose name I just don't remember anymore, made it close to the pool, stopping only a few feet from it. One of the other parents came to their senses and grabbed the closest jug, I think it had lemonade, and emptied it on the burning man before frantically grabbing water. That's when the sound burst back into the world and everyone ran, some screaming, some calling the cops, some just scared. I don't remember much else about that day, just that I swear the man had been staring at me as he burned, water just turning to steam on him. Later on, the cops and fire and ambulance would show up and determined that he had to have been doused in some industrial level accelerant. He'd melted so much that he wasn't even identifiable as human. All they could say for certain was that it was biological material. Nothing else ignited. Not the grass around him, the people, nothing. Just him. There was an investigation, but we weren't kept in the loop on it. Not that we wanted to be honest. On its own, that would be enough, but it was only the beginning. A few years had passed, and ever since then, I'd been so careful to keep a lid on my temper. It's not like anyone explicitly said it was my fault or anything. Indeed, it had been the exact opposite. All the other parents tried consoling me and the other kids after seeing such a horrifying thing. But the other kids... Well, kids are cruel. Overnight, I became a social outcast as everyone was now afraid of me. After only a few months, my parents and I moved cities. I'm guessing the adults were not kind to my parents either. You know how rumors spread. I was 11, I think. It had been 5 years and 2 cities ago, and while the smell was still fresh in my mind every time I closed my eyes, I was happy. Largely, anyways. No one knew me as the Bernie girl or the witch, so I made friends, but a large part of me I kept suppressed. Well, I knew I was the witch, right? So I was scared if I lost my temper again, and I did. Although this time it was justified. Not the effect, no, but me getting angry. Again, kids are cruel. I had made some friends with the less popular kids, mostly due to being relatively new in the area, and they were just more interesting. We talked about all sorts of random stuff the popular kids just ignored. You remember Beyblade? Loved Beyblades. All my friends did too, so we spent most of our time just spinning them in Jared's Bay Stadium. There was something hypnotic about watching them. Well, on this one day, one of the popular kids decided it was time to teach us outsiders a lesson. I remember seeing him stomp up out of the corner of my eye. He was a pretty big brute, taller than most of the rest of us. There was a rumor about him saying that he'd been held back a few grades and that's why he was so much bigger than everyone else. I don't know if it was true or not, but he certainly looked it. We were just off by ourselves in the corner of the school lot during recess. We didn't need a lot of space, so we were more than happy to just sit in the corners and watch our spinning tops go at each other while quoting the attacks from the show. He, Billy, I think, stomped up, his hands in fists, and rammed his foot into the plastic stadium, snapping it and breaking Jared's Beyblade. Mine was thankfully spared, but that act of just childhood stupidity hit my anger like never before, and I jumped up, shoving the bully brute. I was half his size and not really strong, so I jumped back when he started screaming. At first, I just thought he was trying to get us in trouble with the teachers, but then I saw the smoke coming from his shirt, and the burned handprints that scarred his chest now. I tripped backwards and apologized over and over, not really sure what I'd done. I remember as I looked frantically for the teachers, I saw him. It was the clown again, I'm sure, even though he no longer wore the makeup. He was still wearing red, albeit looked more like a blazer of some kind, but there was no mistaking the way he moved, even from the distance just on the other side of the field. That puppet-like walk, the odd angles that his head rested in. Then I looked away for a split second, and he was gone. As before, the rumors spread and even Jared became afraid of me. Everyone was. I've watched a lot of TV and cartoons in my life, and the evil people usually want people afraid of them. But as a kid, it's depressingly lonely, isolating. You find yourself on the outside of every group, of every class, and even those who were once your best friends turn away when you walk by. It led to some dramatic teen years. I went a little edgy. Since I was always on the outside of people, I was, well, moody at all times. Just simmering in anger, sometimes literally. The older I got, the more, I call it the heat. The more the heat would appear. The puppet clown would sometimes tease me just at the edges of my vision, but even when he wasn't there, the heat would be. It never hurt me, the heat, I mean. No matter how hot it gets, no matter how much everyone else would be hit by it, I always feel like I'm at a normal t-shirt temperature. It became quite obvious I wasn't normal partway through high school when I'd walk to school in the Canadian winter in t-shirts and shorts, sometimes skirts or dresses, just because I could. It was my 4th school in as many years, and I'd honestly just lost interest in the whole new girl becomes outcast thing, so I just made myself the outcast. I also started doing what any teen who discovered they had some kind of magic power would do. I started experimenting. I'd spend hours before and after school in the parking lot, or at a small park on the way home, or just wherever I found that looked empty, and try to burn things. For a long time, it only worked when I was super pissed. Anyone near me would get hit by it, but I didn't melt anyone. I don't really know why. Like, there were times where I wanted to melt people. Bullies, teachers who had a problem with me, people I just bumped into when I was in a mood. But it never worked. Even though the near constant angst became its own source for the heat, and I could ignite whatever I wanted. Sometimes I needed physical contact, others it would kindle from across the room. Every time, though, it feels like it's coming through me. The heat leaving a trail in every part of me before it comes out, that same snow-white silent flame. Took a long time, but I can control it. Mostly. I'm still quite the hothead. What always struck me as weird, even as a kid, was my parents' reactions. Even way back when, back at that birthday party, they never reacted. Not in any big way. They called the police and ambulance, but they were stilted, going through the motions. I don't think they were really, truly scared. Not like everyone else had been. And they barely talked about it, only telling me it wasn't my fault. That was it. Not my fault. No explanation, no attempt to help me understand what had just happened, nothing. I can't ask them about it anymore, but the things I found since they went away, they answer a few things. In the basement, the one in the current house, I don't know about the others, there's this carpet. It's huge and thick and heavy. It's black with small bleach stains here or there, but that's not the important part. The carpet covers the vast majority of the floor, from almost the stairs to the far wall. It's like it was made for our oddly shaped oblong basement. Underneath it, if you can move the heavy thing, is what I can only describe as a ritual circle. I don't know what else you'd call it. It's circular, obviously, with symbols and runes and what look like squiggles all over it. It's burned into the floor like someone took a blowtorch to it, and it's old. There's no signs of ash, and if you try to rub the circle, it doesn't come off. There's a whisper with it, one that you can only hear if you know the sound of the heat. I know I said it was a silent flame, and it is, but there's a murmur to it, almost like a heartbeat beside my own. It's hard to put into words. It's hard to explain what it's like to have another being inside you, but also not. Here's the thing. I'm sure this all seems disjointed and hard for you to follow, Jessi, but I think in some ways we're the same. We're touched by these powers, marked by these things. You by that book of yours, me by that puppet clown. And I, too, know what it's like to not use our gifts. I don't really know yours or your cost, but I think the cost for the heat is more straightforward. The heat is still a flame, and fire needs fuel. I need to burn things, sometimes living things. I wonder if it makes me a bad person sometimes. It's not a choice, not in the traditional sense. I can choose not to burn, of course, but that's like choosing not to breathe. You can do it, obviously, but stop breathing long enough, and you're dead. When I don't burn, well, I don't like to think about it. I'm an adult now, been burning for a while. My parents, well, I confronted them a few years back, asked what the circle was, why I burn, why I have to burn, why they hadn't told me. They tried to deny it, of course, went so far as to pretend that none of it had ever happened, and we just moved for work, so I burned a hole in the wall. That stopped the excuses pretty damn quickly. They babbled for a while. It was hard to follow. They kept talking over each other. They weren't afraid, I don't think. I get a sense when people are afraid of me. It helps fuel the heat. No, they were more upset, I think. Apparently, from what I could gather in their incoherent nonsense, they were mages or something like that. They made some kind of deal for power and had signed away their souls or some other nonsense, but they hadn't got the power I had, and they weren't happy about it. They just tried pretending I didn't, hoping that it would go away or whatever, but obviously it hadn't. And we'd been moving so much to avoid whatever the thing was that gave me this gift. Something hit me when they said that. The heat. Its heartbeat started, pounded louder and louder until it was all I could hear. Above their voices, their half-truths and excuses, their fairy tale nonsenses, all of it faded, and all I could hear was the flicker of the fire, the heat. I think they knew that, and in those last few moments, they knew that. I think they could tell I was no longer listening, and that the power, the gift that I got and they didn't, it was taking over, and they burned. They didn't make a sound, they just stood there, their faces open in shock as the pure white flame slowly melted them into that puddle of ash and remains. Sounds bad, doesn't it? But what was worse, I felt no fear, no shame. No, watching my parents burn by the very power they resented me for having, it felt good. It was almost delicious. It was a feeling unlike any other, and to try to describe it to you would be a fool's errand. Suffice to say, I'm pretty sure I'm becoming a monster. If not in body, then definitely in mind. Pyrokinesis. An idea as old as fire itself. Many, many beings boast firepower. Gods and demigods, monsters, demons. Across basically every mythology there is, at least one being able to command fire and heat. It's even a popular theme in modern stories. Superheroes, role-playing games, tales of mages. As for this clown puppet, I think it's too much of a coincidence for it to be anyone other than Weatherby or Betherwy. They seem to be popping in and out of these sagas more and more like a knitting needle. Just what are their affiliations? Do they belong to other monsters, to powers? Are they monsters? Or are they humans that have been changed by their own powers? And the idea lightly floated there. Do all these marked, let's call them, end up with some sort of power or creature? Do I have some sort of marked gift? A topic for another time, I think. As for all, dear dark wanderers and not, how'd you find today's tale? Enough to convince you of the things that lurk in the dark, or did it scare you back into the light of day and modern science? As ever, thank you for listening, and until the next, let's cross that veil together.